My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
So I didn't really realize the impact that it was all having until I think it really started to hit home. Last year was my son's senior year of high school. And again, I worked 668 hours of overtime.
That is crazy.
So I felt like I was missing out on a lot of last. He was my last kid. And it just started to break my heart. And I felt like all of those things that I was able to enjoy with his siblings and stuff like that, and all those moments that I had looked forward to since he was in preschool, like I was missing out on them because I was either not able to be there, or maybe I was physically there, but mentally I wasn't there. So it really just kind of hit me, and I had kind of a breaking point, and it wasn't anything like this big grand thing. And that's the weird thing is, like, again, I think that people always think about burnout as you'll know when it happens, or you know what I mean? And it wasn't this big, like one day I just woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going through burnout right now. It was just a very gradual haze that fell over my life.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS, the leading AI company in public safety. A big shout out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast. Thank you all very, very much, and especially all of you who are currently watching, listening, and supporting. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. It is June 15th. Woo, June 15th already. 2026, and this is going by super fast. I think this is going to be episode 660. What? Been doing this for over a decade. When I first started this, I had no idea it would be what it is today, but it's because of all of you and your stories that this has become what it is. So thank you all very, very much for everything. And we've got a lot that is coming up. We've got National NINA coming up. There are other conferences and places that I'll be speaking at. I'll be heading out to the ranch as well. And who knows, maybe even a collaboration with
Alex Sheen of Because I Said I Would. And if you don't know who Alex is, make sure to look him up, look up his nonprofit. Amazing stuff that is going on there, but who knows? You never know. Also, the Within the Trenches continuing education scholarship is back. That's right, people. It is back. I launched it on the 10th, and that one is going to be a whirlwind. I'm giving out 2 scholarships. I had done them from 2016 through 2020, but of course, with the pandemic, everything got shut down. But in 2021, I did honor that scholarship, and that went to Samantha Hawkins, one of my homies, and she's doing some great stuff. And so I brought it back. We brought it back. I've already awarded one from this past April during National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And the next one, again, that one is currently up for applications. Just simply go to withinthetrenches.net/scholarship, and you'll be able to find all of the information there. This will be for a paid trip. That is the registration and a $500 stipend, travel stipend, that is, to National APCO. So again, it is a registration that you get and a $500 travel stipend to the National APCO conference that's going on this August. That's why I say this is going to be a whirlwind, because applications end for that specific one on the 29th of this month, 29th of June. So get out there, get the information, and we'll see what happens. I'm not the one who chooses the recipient, because if it were me, I would want to have everyone go. I want everyone to be able to go. So I have a committee that ends up reading through the essays and resumes, all that good stuff, and they are the ones that choose. Now, ultimately, if there's a tie, I'm the tiebreaker, which sucks, because again, I would want to send everyone. But that is going on. Make sure to check that out and everything, and a lot of good stuff coming up. So, with that said, I am excited for my guest today. I have a returning guest, and I'm kind of doing this as well. I'm doing solo episodes again, which have been so much fun to do, and I want to do a series of returning guests, folks from the past. And this one is from, I believe, about 8 years ago. So, my guest today is my homie, my homegirl, Erica, and she is a 911 professional as well as CTO and peer support specialist out of Calhoun County, out of Michigan. Yo, yo, what's going on?
Hello.
I was going to say the entire name, but then I remembered it's a mouthful. So what
It
is it
is a
exactly?
mouthful. So it is Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority. And that's it. The end.
See, and I always forget the authority part, so I'm glad,
Yes.
because I had the first part of it, and I thought, no, I'm just gonna have her do it because I know I'm gonna screw it up.
Yeah. CCCDA. Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority. Yeah. CCCDA.
Well done. Again, I'm glad that it was you and not me, because I would have messed that up because I always forget the authority part. So I am super happy to have you back, and you've been doing just a lot of great things. We're going to get into some of that, and we're going to get into actually a lot of different things. But first, let's go back. Let's go back, because I want you, for those who might not have heard that first episode, just kind of a quick summary of your background with 911, how you got in and everything. Again, just a short summary, but I do want to mention that it was about 8 years ago that you and I recorded the first episode that was, with just you and I. And where were we?
Oh my gosh. So we were in this tiny little restaurant, from my memory. It was a small little restaurant in Angola, Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could hear dishes clanking around in the background and music playing. Yeah, the waitress kept coming over and checking on us. Like, are you guys still okay? And we're like, yeah, we're good. Don't
That's
mind us.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun one because I wanted to do something different. Like we were meeting up kind of, pretty much in the middle. And we had been talking about recording this episode, and we got there to have lunch and kind of discuss it and everything.
Mm.
And I also remember at that time, holy cow, even the technology itself um is completely different now, like night and day, because I'm pretty sure I had my iPad and a little speaker that I could plug into that iPad to pick up both of us and also everything else. So I had that in the middle of us. We finish eating and we start the episode and start going through it. But you're right, there was music going on because I think at one point it, it it was either right as we started talking because we were recording already, but it was either right when we started or it was in the middle. But some boy band came on and we
You
started
started-
singing, right?
There must have been a lot of editing for that episode because, yeah, the music was a little bit of a distraction. But
But
it
she's
was
right.
like a Backstreet Boys song or something.
Yes, yeah, it was like back. Oh, yeah, back streets back. All right. Yes, that's what it was.
It was
Yeah.
one where, like, you couldn't not sing it. You had to jump in for a second.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, we just jumped right in. It was like, oh my God, we're back again. Ooh, 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 ooh. And I'm sure the waitress, our server, she was probably like, what the hell are these people doing? Because I think at one point we were the only ones still in that restaurant. And we were in and we're recording this episode. And yeah, like Erica said, the waitress, our server kept coming up. She's like, "You guys all right? You all right?" We're like, "Yes.
Like,
Yeah, we're good."
do you want me to just bring a pitcher of water? Because, at that point, you're just like, yeah, I'll just take some more water, I guess.
Yes, very, very true. Yeah. So let's jump into that short summary. Give us a little background for those who might not have heard that episode, because I don't if that was 8 years ago.
I was gonna
I don't
say I'm starting to, like, I'm a little older than I used to be myself, and my memory is not amazing. So I remember parts of it. But yeah, I do remember, again, I would have only been about 5 years in at the time. So things were quite a lot different for me at that time. I remember that we were talking about perfect attendance. That was a big topic. And we started talking about getting flu shots because I was like 2 months away from the end of the year and I almost had perfect attendance. And I did get it that year, by the way.
Well done.
Yeah. But yeah, just kind of sharing my story. I was kind of newer into the CTO game at the time. I had been training some people for a couple of years at that point. And just, yeah, just kind of starting out my dispatch career. So I actually think it would be really cool to go back and re-listen to the episode sometime. This is inspiring me. I may go back and listen to it. I should have probably re-listened to it before today, but it's been a busy week and I didn't have time. But
Well, so for those who don't know, how did you get into it to begin with?
So before I started in dispatch, I had worked for the emergency department in the town that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
And working in the ER, I had a lot of experience with the paramedics and EMTs that would come in. And so I made friends with them and stuff over the years. I was there for, oh my gosh, 8 years. So I was there for a while. And one of my friends made a Facebook post because she had moved into dispatch from the road. And so she had shared a Facebook post that dispatch was hiring. And it's really weird because I loved what I was doing before. But for some reason, it just kind of intrigued me. So I reached out to her and had some questions. I actually went in and I did an observation before I even made the decision to apply. Because again, at the time, I was in a job that I enjoyed. I'd been there for a long time. So the thought of leaving it to me at that point was pretty crazy, to be honest with you. But so I went in and I did an observation, and still don't know why I decided to do it after the observation, because I left there so overwhelmed. They were like, "Do you have any questions?" And I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to ask you right now. Like, this was insane. But I decided to apply, and I think the process took about 2 months to get through. Yeah, I think I applied in like July, and then I ended up actually starting at the end of October. So it took a while to get in. And even that, I was like, is this for real? Am I actually going to do this? And I did. It just felt right. So yeah, that was how I got into it. And
that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 13
About
years
13 years.
in October. Yeah. Yep.
Dang. So shameless plug here really quick before we go further. For those watching and listening, if you haven't seen it yet, I created a database. So while you were talking there for a moment right in the beginning, I went into the database that's in the website. You were episode 230.
Wow.
And and this is going to be 660.
Wow.
Holy moly. That is crazy. So, all right. So that's how you got in.
Yep.
We visited our time there at that little restaurant, which they had good food. They definitely had good food and everything. Now you've been at the same center this whole time. You are a CTO, you do peer support stuff. And I feel like when I hear you talk about what you do, and it's not just on here, just a moment ago, but throughout the years that I've known you, because we've known each other for a long time, and we've talked about a lot of different things. You genuinely love your job, and also being a CTO, a trainer. You know, what are some of the things that have really led to that love for not just the profession, but what you do as a teacher, training the literal next generation of 911?
I don't know. First of all, I do. It sounds kind of cheesy, but I do. I love what we do. I love all sides of it. I come from a center where we are call takers, we are PD dispatchers, we are fire and EMS dispatchers. We do all of it. And I love all sides of it equally. If there have ever been times, which, it's weird because I wouldn't say that I've even had times where I've been like, man, this job really stresses me out, or I don't want to be here today, because it's like, as soon as I get there, I love it. I'm not having a great time, but I am. Like, I'm with my people that I love.
Right.
I'm doing what I love. I help people. But the amount of times that I just like self-reflect while I'm on the phone with somebody, even like I have moments where I'm like, I'm so lucky that I get to do this job. I'm so lucky that I'm talking to this person right now. Or even just trying to relate, like, if this was my grandma that was calling in, how would I hope that the call taker would be talking to her? How would I hope that she would be reassuring to my grandma? I remember one time I thought it was a little strange because I didn't think that this wasn't normal, but somebody said to me, they said, I love hearing you talking to callers because you actually sound like you're talking to an individual person every single phone call that you take. Like, you're actually trying to have a personal conversation. And I'm like, I didn't realize that not everybody does that, because I do. Like, every time that I pick up the phone, you never know what's going to be on the other end of the line, who's going to be on the other end of the line. But you just have to keep an open mind and really focus on why you're there, like why you do the job that you do. We're there to help people, whether it be something really, really traumatic, or whether it just be like your grandmother that needs the phone number for the Secretary of State. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's why we're there to help. We're there to help for anything. So I think that is what really kind of keeps me focused on doing what I do, doing a good job. Yeah.
So along with that, along with what you're saying and everything, which I love, um, do you feel like it took you a little bit to get to that point? And what I'm getting at is, so just for example, let's just think about like a thank you. You know, a lot of times when we're working, especially in the beginning, you have people who will say thank you, and it's almost like I'm just doing my job. You know, a lot of people, a lot of times that's what the response will be
Yeah.
is, oh, well, I was just doing my job. I was just doing my job, or whichever.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of thank yous that you end up getting when it finally hits, when it finally clicks, and you
Mhm.
think, just like you were saying earlier, I get to do this. Like I don't have to do this. Like I get to do this, and this is my
Yeah.
calling. Like this is what I do. Do you
Yeah.
feel like it took a certain amount of thank yous, or anything to that nature to get to that pretty much philosophy that you're talking about? Or do you think that because of what you did in the medical field, it kind of followed you already? Like you had that coming in, it kind of prepared you a
Yeah.
little bit coming into 911.
Yeah. No, I do. I think that my prior experience probably helped to set me up a little bit for accepting those kind of thanks and actually like realizing that people mean it. I was able to see people face to face. I probably experienced it even a little more. I worked in a critical care unit for about
Mhm.
a year as well. And so, you know, you'd see a lot of the same families coming back to visit every night. I worked night shift, which I loved.
Love me some night shift.
Right. But yeah, so like you would form bonds with people and they would thank you for just being there for their families. And so yeah, I mean, I think that does help a little bit. Um, but I think you're right. I think it's a very common thing for us to be like, oh, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. And you know, to some degree it is our job, but again, when you look at the fact that every single call that you take isn't just, you know, it's not a normal, like, I'm just checking a box off of my to do list today at work. It's literally helping people one at a time. You know, um, so yeah, it's not just your job. And I think that we should all be accepting and open that people are grateful for us and you should be proud of what you do.
Do you feel like that's what keeps you coming back as well?
Um, I do. I do. There are a lot of things that keep me coming back, but like I said, it is knowing that you are making a difference every single day. And it has been nice over the years. I mean, I've received letters from people that have written in to say thank you and phone calls. And even now, like we have surveys that come in and getting the feedback and stuff like that is really, it does like it does. It helps to um, make you step back and realize sometimes that you are making a difference and people really do see that.
I think that's one of the things that's hard for us as well at times, and you know, things that the public doesn't know is that we are in a profession where you are seen as one who needs to be perfect all the time, every time, and you
Yeah.
end up getting into your head at some point, especially in the beginning, that you've got this perfectionism that's kicking in and is just eating at you because any little thing you're like, "Ah, I could have done that better," or you know that even you might even blame yourself for something that's not even your fault. You know, we all want to have a better outcome, but sometimes we have to step back, reflect, and give ourselves some grace, knowing that even though it wasn't the result that we wanted or hoped for, or that the caller hoped for,
Right.
we can give ourselves some grace and know that we were at least there for that caller, and that caller was not alone.
Yeah.
And that would help me get to sleep at times,
Yeah.
knowing that as well. And I want to go back to some of your training, like we were talking about the training that you do
Mhm.
for others, and just really talk about or think about your philosophy on training, because I feel like all the experience that you've had, people that you were trained under, and then you becoming a trainer and everything else, you want to leave, basically kind of leave that legacy for the others that are coming in. And those people are going to remember that. There might be something that you did
Mhm.
that helped someone in a way that you had no idea, and maybe you get a letter later on, or maybe someone walks up to you and it's just like, I just want you to know that what you did, whatever it might be, really helped me get through that. And then you're left with, oh,
Oh.
you're like, oh shucks.
Oh.
So what's your philosophy on training? Like, other than, the leading by example, but
Mhm.
how culture starts or lessons that are relatable. I love talking with you. And I feel like the people that train under you, you make them feel as though they could just be open, because you make it relatable. Like, you share stories with them and other things.
Yeah. That's what I have always tried to do. I remember back to when I was in training, and I had some very amazing CTOs. I had a couple that I got very close with, and then I had others that I didn't so much. And I remember feeling sometimes where I was like, man, I feel like nobody even knows me. Nobody's really trying to get to know me. Um, and I didn't really know them either. And I know that kind of back in the day, it was a little more um, along the lines of thinking like, don't become friends with your trainees. Don't, like you've got to make them earn their place and stuff like that. And um, when I started training people, I never wanted anybody to walk out and feel like, oh my gosh, I just spent a month in that room and nobody even knows anything about me. Nobody knows like that I have kids or that I used to work at the hospital. Like I knew that I never wanted anybody to feel that way. And so yeah, I do. I try very hard from the very, very beginning to um get to know them. Like that's one thing I'm like, I want to know you. Like where'd you come from? Do you have kids? What do you like to do? What do you like to eat? Anything. Just like let's figure this out because we're going to start spending a lot of time together here pretty soon. And I want to know who you are. Like we all do the job a little differently because we're all different people. And um, and I have always been very upfront with people about some of my struggles that I had in training, some of the areas that I struggled in, some of the mistakes that I made. I'm like, don't ever do this. This was really bad. I did this. Don't do this. And I think that it does help for them to not feel so uncomfortable when they know that I also made mistakes. And I'm upfront. Like this is going to be really weird to say, but I love it. There will be times when I'm working and they're watching me and I will F something up still. Like I will do something very stupid because we all do. We all make mistakes sometimes.
Right. We're human.
You know what
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean? And I love making mistakes in front of them because I want them to know that we all make mistakes. It's just sometimes you have to know how to recover from it.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And I don't ever want them to feel like I expect 100% perfection because that's not always realistic, and that's part of the training process. And I'm here. I'm not going to let you mess up anything. You know what I mean? Like we got this. We'll go through it together. So yeah, so that's really what I try to do is just relate to them and make them feel comfortable. And know that like you're not going to be perfect day one. Let's work through this together.
See, and I love that, and I feel like, I mean, I would have loved to have had you as my trainer because, and I'm sure everyone who has had you as a trainer feels the same way because it's not like you mentioned before, like the older guard where it's just you listen, speak when spoken to. No one is gonna like learn your name or anything until you're through,
Right.
which sucked. And
Yeah.
that wasn't the way to do it. But
Yeah.
even back then, and this is not to give them an excuse or anything, but that's just what they knew.
Right. And
And
that's why I always like to preface that with saying I love those people that were involved
oh
back then.
yeah,
They were great people. It
yeah,
it wasn't their fault. Like that was just kind of how things were, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. And it's a lot better now, especially because of short staffing.
Hmm.
You are the type of trainer that centers want to have because you want them to feel comfortable, especially right in the beginning when you start. And I don't know how you guys do it, but you know, if you happen to have a moment right in the beginning when you're playing like some hard calls to let them know like this is the type of stuff that you might hear. It might not be the exact same thing, but it'll be a similar situation. And when you are building that rapport with them already, they feel comfortable and they're able to get through it. You're able to talk with them and everything. And it's a way to ease people in, even though it might sound weird to anybody else who's not ever
Hmm.
worked in the profession. It might
Yeah.
sound like, well, you're playing all these hard calls, you're scaring them. It's like, well, I mean, they need to
It's
know,
better to
you
hear
know?
it. Yeah, because it is reality, and it's better to give them a little bit of exposure uh, before it happens in real time, so that
Right. I've
you know
had
what to expect.
in the past when I was in dispatch, we had a huge group of people that were hired at the same time. Only two of them made it out of
Mhm.
nine, I believe.
Wow.
And one of them, um, they as soon as they got on phones and took that first like that they heard that first person screaming, that was it. That was their last shift.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they were donezo. They hadn't heard any tapes or anything. I'm dating myself saying tapes. But they hadn't heard any audio recordings.
Mhm.
And and that was that. So I mean they had to change all different kinds of things, but
Mhm.
also like going from there, and because you're a trainer and everything else, and because I've assisted you a couple times, you and your crew and stuff, and you've assisted me, especially recently, with different videos and everything. But educating the public about 911, what do you think are some of the things that are still a I don't know, misconception that the public has that you guys would want them to know? Like one of the things that I did recently, just to give you an example, is there was a short video and I added it in an episode talking about can't you just trace my call? And I
Mhm.
mentioned in there, and not just that part, but the amount of questions that are asked, because I think a lot of times the public, because they're going through their worst nightmare, they think
Mhm.
that the amount of questions that I'm asking is delaying the response
Mhm.
time of their help. And I
Yeah.
explained in there that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
What does delay it sometimes is you not answering my questions.
Mhm.
If you call in and I'm trying to get your address, and especially if you're calling in on a cell phone, and let's just say, because technology is way better now, let's just say, because technology isn't 100% perfect, it's not. I mean, you have to verify the location anyway. But if
Right.
you can't get that verification or answers to other questions, sometimes that might have the potential of delaying that response. But I mean, we're sending someone out either way.
Right.
We just need to know where they're at. So what are some of
Yeah.
the things that with those examples and as we
Um,
talk about public education, that you would want people to know? Because you guys did a video on on different things coming out of Calhoun County, which I thought was awesome. So have at it.
well, okay, you're kind of putting me on the spot because honestly, what you just said were the two things that I was going to say. Truthfully, I think that there is still so much misconception about that we know exactly where you are, which again, with new technology, it really has helped to narrow it down quite a lot. But like you said, it is part of our verification process that we have to verify your address with you, even if, yes, I can see you look like you're at Meijer right now. But also, where at are you? You're in the store. Like, are you in the bread aisle? Are you at the pharmacy? I need to know. I need to know these things, just to help get help to you faster. And then, like you said, I think another big one that I hear of is people assuming that because you're asking them all of these questions that it's delaying the response. So, I learned that very early on, that to tell them, like, this is not going to delay the response, but I do have to ask you some questions. And a lot of times when people are in a panicked state, saying it just once doesn't always help. Like, sometimes you have to say it again, like, just a reminder, this isn't delaying them, but I have to keep running through these questions with you. And so that's one thing, like, especially as a trainer, teach your trainees some phrases that will make the job a little easier for them, to help to calm people down. Like you said, I mean, we already have help on the way. So regardless, it's probably not going to slow them down because they're already going. But you might miss out on different resources if you're not able to make it through all of the calls or all of the questions.
Let's say that you have a job fair or you're
Mhm.
doing a first responder day
Mhm.
and it's out at a school or something, and you've got police, fire, EMS cars, all over the place. People are walking around asking questions, and
Mhm.
you, my friend, are at the booth for 911. Someone walks up with their kids and they start asking questions. What do
Mhm.
you say to them?
Um, a lot of times they'll ask us, what are some things that you can tell my kids about 911? And my agency, we have a public education team. So
Mhm.
that scenario happens often for us. We go out to a lot of schools, elementary schools, middle schools. We do go to our fair. Like you said, there's all of the emergency services there, and we usually have a booth. So we try to teach them the basics. I mean, know your address, obviously, is the first one. Like, you'd be surprised. And it's really funny, even myself working in 911, and I was going out and teaching the public, like, learn your address, learn your address. And then I'm sitting there talking to my own child who very, very much should know his address. And he didn't know our address. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just, you know what I mean? So
Well done. Whoops.
Thankfully, we have not had to have it, but
Yeah.
I mean, basics. And we try to get the kids to think outside of the box. If we're like, what do you think is something else you could tell me if you don't know where you're at? What and they're like, oh, what color my mom's car is, stuff like that. So we try to, or even something that a lot of people don't think of is, what's your mom's name, mom? What's your dad's name, dad? You know, I try to tell parents, like, it's not in a disrespectful way to have your kids calling you Ricardo, but
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, teach them their full name, teach them your full name. Sometimes it would help us if we're trying to search for an address, like, oh, this is their dad's name. Let me start looking through parcels in the area to see if I can find something. So, little things like that. And then we also like to talk to them a lot about not playing on cell phones, because we get a lot of accidental calls, and a lot of them are from children. And 'cause they just pick up the phone and they're trying to play games or watch videos on YouTube or whatever. And then something else that we try to teach them is, hey, you might accidentally call in. It happens. We're not trying to get you in trouble, but just, we need to talk to an adult, and it's not because we're trying to send police to come, you know what I mean? So, those I think are kind of some of the big things that we try to teach kids about 911. And the obvious appropriate situations that you would call for.
Oh, for sure, and especially adults, for
Mhm.
that last one that you were just saying, because if you accidentally call 911, don't hang up. Stay on the
Right.
line.
Oh, yeah.
Stay on the line, because I don't know how your policy is, and you don't have to say, but for our policy at the
Mhm,
center that I was at, if someone called and we
mhm.
verified the address and everything, we still sent someone out. Like, we would send
Mm,
them out no matter what.
yeah.
And it got to a point where, like, this one little kid was playing excuse me, was playing on the phone, and the mom goes, "I'll be waiting. I know how it goes."
Yeah.
But they learned,
Yeah.
and it was easier years back, in the sense that with some of those cell phones, and even if you still have some of these cell phones, the ones where you can actually take the battery out,
Mhm.
that's what we would tell people to do. Just take
Yeah.
the battery out and let them play with the phone that way. But
Yeah.
even today, if you have an old phone, I believe,
Mhm.
and the battery's in there and it's working,
It
it
can
can
still
still
call.
call 911.
Right. Which, I mean, also a good thing to know for somebody that might not have a phone,
This is
right?
very
And
true.
you need to call in. Like, there's a lot of people that don't understand that either.
Mhm.
And there are some. I mean, we take a lot of calls from people that are calling in on phones that don't have service on them, but they are able to at least call in on 911. So yeah, good to know, but also good to know that just because it's not on your plan anymore doesn't mean that it's not going to call us if you're letting your child
Yeah.
watch
Yeah,
whatever,
no,
you know.
exactly.
So
And I love that you guys do this, and also your whole thought process on this, as well, because I feel like this too, it reaches future dispatchers when people come around and they're asking questions. I mean,
mhm,
they could have walked over there to talk to you about what would you want our kid to know? And you're going through and you're saying all this stuff, and one of those parents might think, "Hey, you guys hiring? Like, I might want to do this." Like, it's very possible that that could happen. Now, with the public education and
mhm,
everything that you guys do,
mhm.
why do you think it matters? Is it because it builds a certain trust with the community, or and I say this too because there are some centers out there that don't do things like this,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I feel like it bridges a gap between those who are working in 911 and the community, where if you're doing outreach like this,
Yeah.
public education, going to the library, talking to kids, or going to
Mhm.
the schools or whichever,
Mhm.
it builds some sort of trust, but also humanizes all of you
Yeah.
to you guys being the ones answering the calls.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that that's a very important element is like you said, it does. It humanizes us. It really does help to show that we are a vital piece in the whole chain of the emergency services in the area. And, we have a good rapport with the community, and we get out there. Um, we are active in parades. We have parades for the holidays. We go out and do that. Like I said, we go to the fair. There's a lot of places that call us often, and they're like, hey, can you send somebody over because we're having this type of educational event. And it is really cool that we're not even necessarily having to reach out to people all the time to try to like get into places. Like, they're calling us and saying, hey, can you have somebody come over and talk to us about 911? So it is pretty cool. It is really it's rewarding. I know I've mentioned this to you. Something that we started doing was getting involved with our career center
Mhm.
that has high school students that attend. It was actually kind of cool because my youngest was in the law enforcement and the criminal justice programs a couple of years ago. So I got to go in and do some events and speak, which was really awesome. Um, but we started doing an internship program, and we've had now four, I think, interns over the last couple of years. And one of them ended up actually deciding that she wanted to come and work for us. And so she hired on after she graduated, and she made it through the training program, which, like, she was already exposed to it. So definitely helped her as she progressed through. And yeah, she made it through the training program, and she's been working on her own for a couple months now. And it's really, really been a cool experience. So
Dang.
yeah.
That
So,
is awesome. I love that.
yeah.
I want to switch gears here a little bit. With all of this that we've been talking about, we were talking a little bit, just kind of mentioning the short staffing issue.
Mhm.
So, what I want to talk about is one, the reality of burnout, what that looks like,
Mhm.
and then the decision to save yourself. So, the first part of this, if you can tell me, how many hours of overtime did you have last year?
Oh my gosh. It actually feels crazy to say this out loud because I don't know. And maybe it's not as many as it sounds like to me, but I worked 668 hours of overtime last year.
Ho Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Uh, if you had to just ballpark it,
Mhm.
what would that break down to, like, in a week?
You're asking me to do math right now.
That's why I said just
And
ballpark
this is
it.
the
Like,
thing,
would you
it's
think
hard
it's
to say
like
because I literally felt like I was there every day for a year. So, um,
I feel like it could probably be 60 to 70,
hold
maybe
on,
even
hold on.
80 hours.
I'm gonna get out my camera here. My calculator. So we do 12-hour shifts, right?
Yeah.
And that was 51 extra shifts that I worked last year. And so yeah, and at 52 not pay period, 52 weeks. So basically a shift a week.
Wow.
But some weeks obviously they were all compiled together. And some of the
And you
shifts
work
were
12
like
hours.
we do 12s. Some of them were more like 8s though,
Oh,
which
okay.
I mean, that's good, but also it could have been more days with that being the case. You know what I
Jeez.
mean? But yeah, it was a lot. And I would say that the year prior I probably came pretty close to that as well. And that's not just me. That was center wide.
So, yeah, center wide. But
Yeah.
for you specifically, did you ever feel like you were, it's going to sound funny to say out loud, but you ever, and I say this too, because I feel like we get to a point where we just feel like, yeah, nothing can take us down, um, because of what we're doing and all.
Mhm.
But did you ever feel like you were potentially immune to burnout until you burned out?
Yes. Yes. Um, I did. I really did. Like I said, I have gone so many years just I'm like, I love this job. I love it so much. I'm so happy that I get to do this. And um that was going great under normal circumstances until we dropped down to the skeleton crew and I was there every day. And I was one of those people that immersed myself in everything that I could. There was a committee, there was an event, there was this or that, and I wanted to be involved. And so that started to take a toll. You're working a full-time job, which is hard enough as it is, and then you're adding in all of those overtime hours, and then you might have one day a week off. And they're like, hey, we have this event going on. Like, can you go and do that too? And I'd be like, yep, I got it. Like, let's go. And then you add in the fact that while we're so low staffed, what do you need? Like, what do you need to get out of that? You have to hire some more people, which means you got to train the people. And I love training, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of extra work. It's almost like doing two jobs because you're doing your job and you're monitoring somebody else that's doing the job, making sure they're not making mistakes, and you're talking all day and you're teaching. And um, so when you're doing that day in and day out, again, I was hanging tight for a while, and then all of a sudden it hit me out of nowhere, and I didn't even recognize at first that what I was feeling was that I was burning out because you hear about it forever from the very get-go, if you get involved in any type of trainings or conferences or whatever, and they always are like, oh, do this to get, to get through burnout, or you might burn out. And I'm like, I just don't think I'll ever do it. It's not that I like scoffed at it or didn't think it was real. I just really thought that I had a good grasp on myself and that it wasn't going to happen to me. And then it did.
So then when it did and you started to kind of reflect and think back, because a lot of times when you're in the thick of it, you don't notice it. And there might be people around you or even your kids who
Mhm.
notice certain things and you think, no, I'm fine. Like none of that is going on. So what does burnout look like? And just you specifically, what did that look like? Or what did you notice or what did you not notice that maybe your kids or other people started saying? And then, what is I guess the emotional cost of that?
I think for me, the biggest thing, like I said, it's weird because it didn't affect me when I was at work. As soon as I'd hit the floor, I was like on go mode and I was fine and I was happy. Like that's the weird thing, is that I was happy when I was at work. I was great, but that started to become the problem because I felt like I wasn't normal or happy when I was not at work. And I didn't know how to function when I wasn't at work. And then I had to face my own stuff that it was always easier when I'm like, oh, it's just a long week. Like I'm gonna just come home and I'm gonna go to bed and I'm gonna go back to work and I'll deal with life when I finally have a break or when I finally have a day off. And then I never had a day off.
Hmm.
And it started to affect, like it did, it started to affect my relationship with my kids because, and my kids aren't little. My kids are all in their 20s at this point in time. At the time I had one of them still in high school and living at home. But the fact that I could go days without even seeing this child that lived in my house because I would come home from work and I was tired and I would just go to bed, and I wasn't finding joy in like doing the normal things that I liked doing, making dinner for him, catching up with him, helping him with whatever. Like I didn't have time. But like I said, it was all the way, I was always just going back to work though. And when I was there, I felt happy. So I didn't really realize the impact that it was all having until I think it really started to hit home. Last year was my son's senior year of high school. And again, I worked 668 hours of overtime.
That is crazy.
So I felt like I was missing out on a lot of last. He was my last kid, and it just started to break my heart. And I felt like all of those things that I was able to enjoy with his siblings and stuff like that, and all those moments that I had looked forward to since he was in preschool, like I was missing out on them because I was either not able to be there or maybe I was physically there, but mentally I wasn't there. So it really just kind of hit me, and I had kind of a breaking point, and it wasn't anything like this big grand thing. And that's the weird thing is like, again, I think that people always think about burnout as you'll know when when it happens, or you know what I mean? And it wasn't this big, like one day I just woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going through burnout right now. It was just a very gradual haze that fell over my life.
Do you feel like with what was going on last year and your kid being like getting ready to be out of school and all this other stuff, you're realizing what you're missing and all these other things, and you mentioned that breaking point, was that kind of around the time that you decided, you know what, it's time to save myself?
Yeah. Yeah. I just, yeah, it literally kind of hit out of nowhere. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I know that there are some things going on right now with staffing issues. I had we had a few people off on medical leave, and I'm sorry, I have a fly.
No, you're fine.
Flying in front of me.
You're fine. Go ahead.
So, you know, we had a couple of people that were off on medical leave. I had, in a small center, I had 2 people that were off with cancer, which is a devastating time for people to go through as it is. So, our hearts were with them and wanting them to get better. And again, we're working a million hours, and I knew I couldn't control that. Even if, like, my big thing was, again, it was working every day. And I'm like, even if we magically had like 6 people walk in the door tomorrow and they were all perfect fits and they were going to work out, they're not going to be ready to go for months, right? It's not going to solve what's happening right now, but I need something right now. So what can I do? And it was a hard thing for me because, like I said, I was one of those people that, like, I wanted to be there for everybody. I wanted to do all of the things. But I had to literally kind of triage what are my important things, and what are the things that I feel like might be draining me, or that I can set aside to help free up some of my time, because I need to try to fill up whatever time I have outside of here with something other than still something involving 911. So I did. I stepped away from a few things. I was our union vice president. I was doing a lot of the PERC, the public education events. I was volunteering for some of those 668 hours. I was like doing that to myself. And so I had to kind of step back. And I knew at the time that it was still necessary for me to be a CTO. Like they needed that. So I kept doing that, but I literally I went to my bosses and I said, listen, I just want you guys to know, I'm not all in anymore. I love it here. I love everybody here, but I'm giving myself a year. I need 1 year for me. And then I'm going to come back. And that was what I did. So we're just over a year and a couple of months. And I do feel like those changes that I decided to make have helped me significantly. And focusing on the things that I could change and the things, that I have control over. It's really easy in those moments to feel like your world is just spinning and like you're out of control and you don't have control. And we all like to have control. We're dispatchers. We're like, you know what I mean? And so I had to realize, like, there are some things that I can control. I'm not totally helpless, and I am going to be okay. We can get through this. And so yeah.
Really quick, what you mean by the year that you took off? That was like from training, right? Stuff like that. Not that you took off a year of actually working in dispatch.
No. Yeah, sorry. No, I've been working in dispatch all along. I've been working the extra hours that I had to, like we had to keep the show on the road here. And so yeah, I've been working. I remained on as a CTO, but aside from those 2 things, I kind of cut out everything else that I was doing. And I felt guilty, but
okay, so this is what I was going to get to. As you said just now, you felt guilty, but so here's a question. How important and how healthy is it to have boundaries?
It is very, very important and detrimental to your health to have some boundaries. And I am seeing that now. Like I said, when I first started, I felt guilty. I felt like I was letting down my bosses. I felt like I was letting down some of my coworkers because of some of the things that I was choosing to step away from. But after a couple of months, I really, really, really started feeling the positive effects of the choices that I had made and that I was making. And it's crazy to see, like, especially right now where I'm at. Recently I started taking on some more stuff again, and it's really easy to want to like get back into that same kind of pattern that I was in before, where I'm like, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. Okay, cool. Like, let's do this. But I'm going back at it now with a lot more intention. And I know that I cannot do everything, and I am not going to try to do everything. And along the way, I've picked up some other new interests in my personal life that are taking up some more of my time. So I know that I need to be able to not overstretch myself anymore.
And I think one of those things, something that you focused on, as you said, physical health, I'm sure, is better eating habits, prioritizing different things for yourself, but also you ended up going back to school, right?
I did. So it was so scary. It was so scary. Yeah. So part of all of this, last fall, so I graduated a million years ago from high school, and I did some college after I graduated. But then I got married pretty young, and I had a couple of kids, and I decided, you know what, I don't want to go to school right now. So I did not finish a degree or anything all those years ago. And I had been telling myself for years, I was really good at always saying like, well, once this happens, then I'm going to go back to school. And I always, like, along the years, I set little like timelines of when I was going to go back to school, because I knew that for me personally, I have a job that I love. I have a career that I love. It wasn't necessarily to like move out of what I'm doing, but it's just a personal fulfillment that I felt like I needed to do. So I've always known that I wanted to, but the timing never really felt right. And then you start to get to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really old. I should like, do I really have it? Do I have it in me to actually do this? But I had told myself, when my youngest graduates high school, I'm going to go back to college. And then he graduated high school. And then I was like, oh shit. It's time. Like, it's actually time. And even the day that I went to the college to get registered, I had talked myself out of it that morning, because I was like, no, I'm going to get my son registered. I don't want to take this away. I don't want to take this experience away from him. So we're sitting there in the advisor's office, and we're done. Like, he's picked out all of his classes and everything. And the advisor's like, all right, is there anything else I can help you with? And I'm sitting there, and that's actually funny because I'm playing with it right now. And I looked down at my wrist, and I was wearing this because I said I would. And I was fidgeting with it. And I don't know if everybody knows what this is, but short skirt off to the side here. How I always like to tell my stories. I got this from a couple of my coworkers that went to one of the national conferences last year. I don't remember which one it was. And they came back with this because I said I would movement. And that day I said, I'm going to go back to college. Again, not actually thinking that I was going to do it in like 2 months. And so I'm sitting there fidgeting with my bracelet, and I just like, it was like my mind escaped me. And I was like, actually, I want to come back to college too. Can you help me? And he was just like, wait, what? And, yeah. And that afternoon I walked out of there, and I was registered for a couple of business classes. And yeah, I've done 2 semesters so far. I'm taking very, very part-time because, again, I'm working a million hours and trying to still focus on peace. But in a weird way, you would think that this would be a really overwhelming experience, and not to say that it hasn't been. There have definitely been some times that I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? This is so much. And I'm doing it all online,
Yeah.
so it's a lot more to kind of teach yourself. I think my son has taken some of the same classes, and so I've had a little bit of experience, and it appears that the online is a little more intense, um, but yeah, I'm doing it, and it has been one of the best things that I have done for myself in so long. Just proving to myself I can do this, and I am doing it. And I mean, I'm getting some pretty decent grades, which I've been happy. I made it on the president's list last semester.
Well
So
done. Proud of you. That is awesome.
yeah, so it's been good. It's been something that I think is so important. That again, I had been so wrapped up for so many years in my work life that I love so much that I needed something else that was just mine. And it's been amazing.
I love that, especially for anyone who ends up listening to this, because your story, I'm sure, will be someone else's inspiration to do the same thing. They've probably just been waiting and waiting, and
I'm
you're going to
serious.
keep waiting, and things are
If
never going
you're
to happen.
watching this, yes, if you are watching this, seriously, I was so scared. I was not confident in myself at all. And I had talked myself into thinking I can't, but you can do it. Seriously. If I can do it, you can do it. And you just have to jump in. Sometimes like taking that first step. And that's one thing that has actually not only carried through in my personal life, but at work too. It's made me feel more confident in other areas that I didn't always feel the most confident in. Just knowing that like I am capable of a lot more than what I was giving myself credit for. So
And I love that as well, because it's kind of a good segue with what you're saying. This like added confidence, these other things that are going on, that it's really building you up, right? Because
mhm.
I mean, we all go through some loss, grief, trauma, and you have definitely been living through kind of a difficult season, losing a mentor, revisiting old trauma, and I'm sure just things there at the center with, maybe at times low morale as well, because again, that happens with short staffing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of things that helped for that as well, whether it be, different resilience teams, peer support, but also there are small things that can help change. And those small things, as people always know, ends up being the biggest things. What are some of those small things that help change a lot of that? Not so much change, but also helped the difficult season
Yeah.
that you have gone through. And what are some of the bigger lessons as well?
So I would say to start out with, I know like with my own shift in particular, we started having conversations with each other, um, recognizing the situation that we were all in. And we were like I said earlier, what are some things that we can control in this situation right now? We can help each other out. Like, let's try to lighten this burden. Sorry, that fly, the fly.
The fly is still going around.
Came back again.
I'm just so you know, I'm keeping all of that in this because I think that is excellent. Okay, go ahead.
Here's another special guest. So yeah, the conversation started happening. Like, what can we do to be there for each other? Let's stop. Um, you know, we can't always wait for somebody else to start making things better. We have to start taking some control here. So we did. We made sure we're like, what do you have going on in your life right now? What can I help you with? What days do you need to be like? Do you need to be home with your daughter every Tuesday? Let's figure out a way so that you can do that. you want to be there when your kids are getting off from camp. Let me help you. There becomes a lot of, I don't know if this happens everywhere, but for us, a lot of our scheduling, a lot of our vacations, our overtime, they're done by seniority. And my shift that I work on, the majority of us are higher seniority people. So you get kind of used to like being able to like make your schedule a little or make your vacations and things work out for you. And literally having to like step outside of the box and be like, although I really want this, and like I technically could do this, I don't want to make that other person feel more overwhelmed. So let them have that day off, or let me work these hours for them so that they can have a reprieve, So just being more intentional, being open, talking to each other, having those discussions, having trust. That was the biggest thing. We had to have a moment literally where I'm like, okay, I trust you. Do you trust me? All right, we're in. Okay, do you trust me?
Getting that buy-in. Yeah.
You're in. Okay, let's do that. And it's crazy. I have this core group of people that, and not to say that it wouldn't spread out to everybody else in my center, but I don't necessarily need to have that type of level of trust right now because I don't work with them all the time. But like my shift right now that I'm on, I trust them more than anything, like to have my back if I need to. Aside from that, something very silly I actually have sitting right here.
I've been waiting for this part.
Yeah. I know. I showed it to you before we started. So, going back to last year, and we're working a million hours, and we're coming into the holiday season, and it sucks. I don't want to be there every day. I want to be at home. I want to be enjoying some downtime with my family and stuff, but that wasn't the reality for a lot of us last year. And so I knew that my shift was working Thanksgiving, and I saw this little child's craft on my Facebook one day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I should go get supplies and have this shift this weekend make up these little turkeys. And I'm going to show you.
What?
It's a little turkey, and we made one for each person and personalized with their name. And then on each of the feathers, we wrote little attributes that we admire or enjoy about everybody. And so this kind of like spawned off more little crafts, little fun things that we started doing throughout all the holidays, and it's continued. And that first time around, like a few people were like, oh yeah, this is fun, like this is cool, and a couple of people were like, it's just more stuff to do, but then it was like every month it started to get a little more exciting, and we decorated like crazy for Christmas. And then in February we made homemade little like Valentine's boxes like you made in first grade, and then we passed out Valentines to each other. And Easter we made things, and it's just continued. And it's little things like that make a difference in how it feels when you walk in the door. And it's been good.
I feel like that goes along with, or can help, really, is what I'm getting at. We're hearing more and more that there are a lot more suicides in dispatch. And I feel like this is the type of culture that needs to be around so that people know that it's okay to feel like you're not doing the greatest, that it's okay to be able to open up and speak to others. And I think it takes what you said just a little while ago, because I keep saying this, and you pretty much have justified and solidified what I have said to people many times. And that's, we are going to be the ones to take care of not just each other, but all of these issues, short staffing, the fact that people just leave because they don't feel like they're being supported or whatever. I mean, you guys literally sat there and said, "You trust me, right?" And you went
Mhm.
around the room and you
Mhm.
made an intentional point to
Yeah.
do this. And then you start these little projects which have continued, and you build and build with the folks that are around you. I mean, one, how important is it to take care of each other, and how does this stuff change? I mean, did your morale get better? Did the relationships get better? Did the
Mhm.
trust get better? Like, what are some of those things that you saw change? Because to me, these are signs of hope.
Yeah. Well, one thing it's hard sometimes. Even I think I kind of told you this earlier when we talked about me coming back on. I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's not the right time yet because things aren't perfect. And I feel like maybe when things are finally perfect, then I'll have something worthwhile to say. But then I was like, no, because you know what? Things are never ever going to be perfect at all. It's always going to be a work in progress. We're all we all have to continuously work to make things better. And yeah, things aren't, we're not 100% fully staffed right now. There's a lot of places that aren't. That's reality. That would
Mhm.
be perfection. It's not. Um, we're close to it. The amount of hours of overtime have significantly decreased. Um, you know, little things like this, our trainees, this is the cool thing, like for me to think about is the fact that a lot of these trainees came in when we were like at the lowest of our lows for some of us, myself included, where we were feeling so overwhelmed. But this was another intentional conversation that we had to have. We're like, we have to be happy. We have to go out of our way to make the new hires feel like this is a good place to work because that's
Right.
that's what we want. Like that's where we're feeling all of this stress right now. It is a good place to work. We're just very overwhelmed right now. But like nobody's going to want to stay if they see us if we're complaining or we're always like just not happy. So we did. We had it, and it's like I said, it's a work in progress. It's not perfect. We're all going to have bad days, but getting some of the trainees involved. This turkey right here, a few of these feathers were written by my trainee at the time that she wrote for me. You know what I mean? Like get them involved in stuff too. Let them feel like they're also part of the change because they are. And but what you're doing is going to shape the way that the culture of your center is going to be with all of these new people coming in. So, and it's got to start somewhere. The change has to start somewhere. So, yeah. And like I said, I think that there's definitely been a very, very positive direction that everything is going for us. And things are good. I have an amazing group of people that I work with, every single one of them. It's, it's a good place. It's
I
nothing
love hearing
to
I
Yeah.
love hearing stuff like this because, like I said, these are signs of hope. These are definitely signs of hope. And, we talk about, calls that stick with us and everything. And a lot of times, we focus on some of those harder calls because a lot of times those are the ones that we really hold on to and bury and we want to get them out. But I wanted to ask you though, um, what about a call that reminds you why you do this?
Um, so I'm one of those people that I am terrible about remembering a lot of calls.
Mhm.
Um, and I wish that I could remember more of them. But I did recently have a call that, again, is a reminder of why I do this. I had a 14-year-old that was not breathing, and we ended up doing CPR, and they ended up surviving after that. And those are the reasons. I mean, that's not going to be your everyday. That hopefully, and for some people, that will never ever be a reality. Hopefully, those are the things that we don't ever want to happen. But um, when those moments do, it is such a good reminder of why we're here doing what we're doing and why we're necessary and why it's necessary for us to take care of ourselves so that we can do the best job that needs to happen.
No, I love that. As we go into the wrap up of this episode, which has been amazing to have you back on and just hear so much more and catch up with you and all. But what is some advice that you have for dispatchers, whether it's, how to stay healthy throughout, over time, building relationships or staying positive, like being intentional with the things that you're doing or saying? What are some things that you would say for advice for dispatchers, whether they're new or even seasoned?
Um, you know, like I said, I think that just taking some time to reflect often on the job that you're doing there and at your life outside of there. Make sure to take some time to have some stuff outside of just work, because that is so important to be able to have the time to decompress and to not be living in that constant state of what we do. Try to find some hobbies or, work out, uh, go back to school, any of those things, and just remember that we are all in this together, and just be kind, be nice, be there for each other, because we are our own best support for each other. Something else that I was thinking of earlier too is the importance of finding people that you trust, finding people that you can confide in and that you can bounce stuff off of, people that you respect. Find a mentor. For me, it's been very cool to have the experience of meeting people that don't even work in my center or even in my state, that I can bounce stuff off of, like, hey, we're dealing with this. What have you guys done before? Or have you ever experienced something? Or do you have any ideas? And it's really cool to be able to like bounce stuff off of other people. So yeah, just again, having a good support system, and just don't forget why you started doing what you're doing, and just, yeah, I don't know.
Be No, that was great.
Just feel that.
And the last question that I always ask folks, and I've asked you already. So the question that I usually ask, the very last one, is if you could go back in time to talk to yourself in the beginning of your dispatch career, what would you tell yourself? But because I've already asked you that, I have a different question for you. And you kind of, in a way, answered it already, but I want to see what you have to say to it, just point blank. So thinking about these 13 years that you've been in public safety, and especially a lot of the stuff that you talked about today, but also the stuff that's been going on most recently, which we all know dispatch suicide and such has probably been going on. We just have not known about it. But also, then you think about things like reclassification or sometimes short staffing and people just getting fed up, and the mental health and wellness talk. Some people are tired about talking about that, and don't want to go back to the old way of thinking of just like suck it up or whatever. There's a lot of good things that are happening. There's a lot of good things that we are doing. And it has been amazing to see this evolution since 2016 on to present time. So here's the question. Why do you still believe this profession is worth saving? Is it worth saving for the people who have stayed, for the ones who have sought help, peer support, that next generation of 911, or the culture that's just continuing to change? Like, why do you feel that it's worth saving?
I feel like it's worth saving because there are so many amazing 911 professionals over the years that have given their lives to do what we do. And there have been so many changes that have been made along the way and that continue to happen. And it can only get better. And we need to just keep pushing for everybody that's been doing this before us and everybody that is going to be coming up in years to come. Everybody's always going to need emergency services. And as we all know, we are the first link in that chain. And it's very important to keep doing the work that we're doing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being on. Thank you for what you do and just your thought process, your mindset on everything with this. It's no wonder everyone really just digs you, and I love you as well and what you do. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
everything. This has been awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on. We should do it again in 8 years.
At that restaurant.
I don't even think the restaurant's open anymore. I was just there.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just down there with
oh,
my
no
mom,
way.
and I was looking for, and I'm pretty sure I was in the same plaza, and I'm like, I think that restaurant is gone.
Oh man, can you imagine though if we went back in 8 years to record an episode and that same server is there? Like, wait, I know these
Wait, I'm
people.
getting some deja vu.
Well, thank you again, and I look forward to the next one. Keep doing what you do, and just shout out to all of your folks there at your dispatch center as well. So I will be right back here with you in just one moment. If you can hang tight, please. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. But the easiest way to do all of this will be to simply go to links, and that's links with two i's.co/IM911. You'll find everything there. You'll find my email, you'll find social media, where to follow you, where to listen to the latest episodes of Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the Imagine Listening podcast. And if you want to be a guest, whether you are new to dispatch, seasoned, or you are retired, I would love to have you on to share your story. I have been doing this for over a decade. It is my passion, and I would love to share your story out to literally millions around the world. So please come on. You can find that link there. You can choose if you absolutely positively need 30 minutes, choose that. Otherwise, choose the 60 because we're definitely going to need an hour to share your powerful, impactful story. And I would love for you to be on. So you can also find the link to the Trenches community. It's all free. We've got 200 hours, over 200 hours of continuing education that's on there. That's all the Dare to Be Great virtual event sessions are all on there. You've also got the Dispatchers Roundtable, 45 going on 46 hours of different topics that are all dispatch related. And then the Public Safety Showcase, which is exclusive to that community. And the next one, again, is coming up. And by the time this one comes out, that will already have happened. And because it will be June 17th that one happens. So you can go there, join, and watch those sessions. And there are going to be some excellent ones. So make sure to check that out. And then any Dispatch podcast merch, you can find it there as well as the Imagine Listening Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I am currently working on the audiobook for Imagine Listening Volume 2. Once again, all of that can be accessed at links, and that's links with two i's.co/IM911. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live. And then I have clips from Within the Trenches podcast, as well as Imagine Listening and the IM911 movement stories. And that is on Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, as well as TikTok and YouTube. So you can check those out there. The podcast can be heard 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone. Take care of each other, be safe, and we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But imagine listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.